The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Godson. I am co-CEO of Momentum Events and Momentum Names, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here this afternoon for part 2 of our webinar series, LinkedIn for Lawyers 2015 edition. Before I introduce my co-presenter, Victoria, just a little housekeeping. This is part 2 of a 2-part webinar. Everybody that is listening on this call will automatically receive an email from us within the next 24 hours or so. That will give you not just a link to the presentation, the slide material, but also to the 2 recordings, this recording as well as the recording of part 1. So in case there's anybody on the call that missed the initial session, by tuning in tomorrow and checking your email inbox, you will be able to have access to both part 1 and part 2. So there's no need to follow up with us separately. We will be accepting questions. If you do have any questions for myself or Victoria, you can please use the chat panel, which is part of the GoToWebinar panel towards the right of your screen. It's usually the second one from the bottom, so please use that to pose any questions. With that being said, it's my great pleasure to hand over to Victoria. Victoria is somebody that I've worked with for several years, who is the pretty eminent LinkedIn expert as far as I'm concerned. She's helped me immeasurably and my organization with our LinkedIn presence. And so it's fantastic that she's made herself available to us for this special LinkedIn for Lawyers session. So Victoria, over to you.
Hi, Matt, and hi, everybody. It's really awesome to be with you again today, and thank you so much for joining us for this second part of really valuable LinkedIn information that we want to share with you. In part 1, we talked about how to get the most out of your LinkedIn participation in the shortest amount of time, because of course we're all busy, and with good results, hopefully the best results that you can get. We talked about how if you want to achieve this, you need a plan built around your short and long-term goals. And even before that, you need an understanding of why you're even there on LinkedIn. Basic things like what you want to include on your profile, who you'd like to connect with, what types of information you'll be sharing and where that content will come from, which groups you want to join, and how you'll regulate your account settings. We talked about using the right keywords, personalizing invitations that you send out so you get warmer leads, posting status updates through the home page or through your company page, and participating in groups. And Matt helped us understand how his organization has developed their own branded groups in a number of specialty legal areas, which some of you are probably members of. And that was a great segment that he did teaching us all how to create our own groups. I'm sorry, I have a little frog in my throat, which I know a bunch of us do, so you have to forgive me if I cough while I'm talking. So you might be wondering, with all this stuff that we talked about, what's left to talk about? Well, those are some of the basics we talked about. And LinkedIn is really actually very deep and very sophisticated. They have a couple of glitchy things, but still they're the only platform that's available to us today where we can go and do all of the amazing things that we can do on LinkedIn, which we never were able to do before. So, you know, Facebook is great for what it does, Twitter's great for what it does, but LinkedIn really is the only place we can currently go and meet with high-value people, whether that's just to warm up a face-to-face conversation or to really create more of a global kind of a presence. So today we're going to look at ways to continue building your success on LinkedIn. One of the first things I want to talk to you about is the new publishing platform. The publishing platform is a great new way to build your professional brand. When you publish a post on LinkedIn, your original content becomes part of your professional profile. This is shared with your trusted network that you've been busy building and continue to build, and can even reach the entire membership of the site in some cases, which we'll talk about in a moment. And that's over 300 million people. Members who are not among your first connections can still be followers of yours And you can enhance your post with branded images, screenshots, and with videos, and even SlideShare presentations. And publishing can also drive profile views. In conjunction with the publishing platform is Pulse. Now you may have seen, and I'm trying to get to my screen right now, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. So let me just tell you this first, and then I'll try to get to that screen. You probably notice when you're on your home page that there's that Pulse information at the top of the page. That's LinkedIn's news feed. And largely that features contributions from people LinkedIn has identified as influencers. This would be people like Richard Branson or Arianna Huffington, Bill Gates, and names that we all know. And while you can see your see posts that come in from your own connections, the information that you post is not necessarily going to appear at the top of the home page for the entire LinkedIn audience to see. So a lot of people ask this question, or they believe erroneously that if they're publishing on the publishing platform, they're automatically getting into Pulse somehow. So the difference I want you to understand here is that, yes, if you're connected to someone and you go to the Pulse feature, you will see all your connections posts. It doesn't necessarily mean you're part of the Pulse news feed. So how you get into Pulse, a lot of people want to know, how do I get in there? Because it's a great exposure for you, is really up to LinkedIn's editors, and based on a whole variety of factors, the most important of which are probably, well, not probably, they are the number of times your article's been viewed, likes, comments, and shares, and the size of your network followers. So let me just take a moment here to try to get to my LinkedIn page so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is all Pulse up here. I'm sure you've seen this. Pulse recommends this news for you. And so you can go down here to see your news, and you can also go here to interest and click on Pulse. We're not going to do it now because it would probably take too much time to get into there to see who among your connections is posting information. And the other great thing, if you go to this Pulse section, you can customize the kind of news that you're receiving. So if you're logging onto your home page and you're seeing lots of information here, content on articles and topics you don't really care about, you want to customize that, just go right up here to your Interests tab, click on Pulse, and when you get in there, you can click the Discover button, and you can customize the kinds of information that you receive. So how do you know if you can publish a post on LinkedIn? Right up here in your Share and Update space, where you would share your updates to your home page, you're going to have one or two of these icons. This means you can attach a file, and this means you can create a post. Not everyone has this icon yet, so if you don't have it, you'll be getting it. And this is what it looks like when you get there. We'll look at one that's already done. All right, so you put an image up here. It could be a branded image, logo, but it's fun to put different pictures in here as well. Then you type in your title. We have formatting buttons here, so which is unusual on LinkedIn. They don't usually offer formatting buttons. Then we have the camera icon, so you can add your images, and you simply add your content into the space. You can see how I added a chart here. There's all kinds of fun things you can do.
This is really fantastic. This is actually a function that I hadn't seen before you introduced me to it. And I would imagine for our audience of attorneys and legal marketers, this is a great opportunity for them to repurpose existing white paper content or thought leadership that they may have sitting around in files or folders on their network that's not getting any visibility and not really kind of not really being leveraged for what it could be leveraged for. So this might be a great opportunity to take stock of some of those materials that you might have access to and see if you can repurpose them in LinkedIn Pulse or in LinkedIn Publishing, excuse me,
Right. So going back to that idea of Pulse, rather than, people are sort of like chomping at the bit to get featured in Pulse. Yeah, that's great because of the exposure. But the real goal here with publishing is to simply serve the informational needs of your smaller circle of influence, people you're connected to, people who would be interested in reading the kinds of information that you post, which are probably most likely your first connections and maybe a little bit into your second connections. And you want to grow your followers. Go ahead.
Do you happen to know, I was going to ask, so many attorneys practice very, very specific areas of the law, and they may well have very niche or specific publications or items to publish. Do you know if they're using particular terms of art? Let's say they're talking about anti-corruption litigation, or they're talking about ERISA litigation, or things that are very, very specific. Do you know if there's an algorithm, if LinkedIn's algorithm is smart enough so that with those search terms in their profile are more or less likely to see what's been published? Do you happen to know?
Well, I think there's probably a couple different answers to that. The first thing is that when you publish posts on LinkedIn, not only can you see them all here in this posting tool, and let me know, Matt, if I don't answer your question directly, but also on your profile, they link to your profile. So when people come to your profile, they can see your most recent posts, and then they can click here to see the whole library of posts that you've put up. These articles that you post are searchable on Google. So in that way, it would link back to your profile and the keywords that you're using on your profile. So it's a big ball of wax the way it's all connected.
Yeah,
that
is really
important
interesting.
to use keywords on your profile and to use, to follow those themes through on your company page and on anything that you post.
Do you happen to know if publishing helps your visibility? I guess
Well,
it does, right? I see you've got 15,000
so.
followers. So
Yes.
mean,
So I have 14,000 and something first connections, but I have 15,000 and something followers. And the difference, and I was going to mention this later, but it fits in now, the difference between your followers and your connections is that all of your connections are followers, but not all of your followers are connections. So people can follow you without connecting to you. And sometimes people want to do that. I'm not connected to Richard Branson, but I might follow some things that he posts. I might not really follow him, but there are other people I would follow, but I may not be in their first connection.
He doesn't follow you? Oh, how embarrassing.
No. Can you believe that? I know.
I can hardly. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to derail. Please continue.
Yes. So if you, Matt had mentioned a blog, and that's a great point. Do you have a blog? You can repurpose that content on the publishing platform, which will drive traffic back and forth between your published posts and your blog or your website. So that's a really great little tool to get that content, that audience going back and forth and getting more familiar with you, which is one way to improve the influence that you have over the people who follow you or your connections. If you don't have a blog, this platform can be your blog, and many people do use it that way. But just remember that when you publish on the publishing platform, you're basically renting that space. So in other words, if we woke up tomorrow and LinkedIn was shut down, essentially you would lose everything that you posted. And that wouldn't happen with a domain that you own. So if you don't have a blog and you're looking for a great blog name using one of the brand new top-level domains like .attorney or .lawyer, then that's something Matt's firm can help you with. Matt, you want to speak to that for a minute?
Not specifically, but yes, I mean, it's obviously a great way of, continuing to brand your particular area of expertise, either your name or your practice area. But yeah, there's nothing I really would need to kind of go into about that.
Yes, that's something you can do, though, right?
Absolutely.
That you can help people with.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So, moving away from the publishing platform for a moment, if you've spent any time on LinkedIn and you're trying to connect with people who you deem are valuable, you may have recognized that making the right connections isn't always easy on LinkedIn. And there are some new rules going into effect in the new year, which are not written in concrete yet, so I don't want to say exactly what they are, but there are some new things that will make it, in some ways may make it a little bit more challenging to make those connections. Most times you need to know the person's email address in order to connect, or you have to belong to the same group that they're in, or you need a premium account with InMails to reach out. But there are a couple of ways around this. So if you don't have the member's email address, here's a workaround. So I'm going to just talk about it for a minute, and then I'm going to show you exactly how it works. So you're going to go to the person's profile. You're going to click the little star. I'll show you where that is, and that star represents your relationship. It creates a connection between you and that person that you're targeting. You're going to copy their name, go to Connections, and paste their name into the Connections search bar, and you'll see that you're able to click on a Connect button for that person, where you can type a note and send that note to them. So let's see how this works in real life. So let's see, who am I going to, I have to pick somebody who's a second connection that I don't know. So here's someone. So I'm going to go to this person's profile, and I truly don't know who this person is. Here's the little star button, Save to Contacts. I'm going to click on that. Then I'm going to copy his name. I'm going to go up here to Connections and Keep in Touch. That's where the search bar is. This probably seems like a lot of steps. It's actually very easy, though. I'm going to paste his name in. There he is. And here's the Connect button. So there you go. So I could go over that again because it's a little tricky, I know. But rather than doing that, I'm just going to remind you to get the recording of this conversation, and you'll have the steps again. Or you can get in touch with me if you want to, and I'll be happy to show you once again how that works.
Does this work with third-degree connections as well?
You know, I don't really pay too much attention to my third-degree level, so I'm not really sure, but it does work with second, and I would imagine it's a back door to connect with someone you wouldn't otherwise be able to connect with, so I would imagine it does work for third degree, yeah.
Okay.
That'd be a fun thing to try.
Check that out.
Yeah. Sure. Another thing that you may have noticed when you're on your profile, or you may not, is the ability to disable and enable notifications. So notifications are messages like status updates that are posted on your home page. Sometimes when you're in your profile, maybe you're making changes. Some of you may have had the lovely experience of making a change on your profile to your job title. Well, this signals the system to send an email to everyone who knows you saying so-and-so has a new job. Congratulate them. If you don't really have a new job, you're just changing words in your job title. So to keep that from happening, you want to disable notifications. And how you do that is very simple. You'll see it right on your profile. And you just scroll down a little bit. Give it a second to load. And it's making me a liar because it's not showing up. Usually it's right in here. Let me see if they moved it. It's a little green button. Oh, I know what they did. Some of you may have noticed they recently changed the edit profile template. Now you're kind of always in edit mode. And if you don't have that functionality yet, you will. So they've probably moved it here. Here it is. So see this here, notify your network. It says, yes, publish an update. So if I come in here and change something in my summary or my headline, it's going to post it on my home page. So 15,000 people are going to get that message. If I don't want that to happen, you just do this. No, do not publish changes. And go ahead and do what you want to do. If you are a person who posts things to your home page, though, you want to remember to turn it back on. So it used to be you had to go into your account page. There was lots of clicks to get to this, and now you just have this one click. Of course, you have to remember to turn it on and off. Okay, let me just take a second here to remind you guys that you can ask questions through the chat feature. If you have any questions, feel free to fire away. Okay. Another great little tool is the ability to message 50 people with one email. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, LinkedIn really is not a sales platform. It's a relationship building platform. So you don't want to use this too often because it could get you temporarily or even permanently suspended from the site if you overdo it and people complain. But in essence, let's say you've written a book and you want to share that link with everyone, or you've written an article, or you have some good news to share, or anything. It could be anything. And you want to share that with 50 or 100 or 200 people. So this tool allows you to do that. And of course, again, here are the instructions on how to do that. And you are welcome to check these out later and play around with it yourself. And I'll just take you in now and show you exactly how that's done. I think I'll take you in and show you. I don't know. Escape button isn't working. There we go. Bear with me. Okay. You go up here to your connections and click on Keep in Touch. This is, by the way, essentially where you find all information about everybody who's in your first level network. You go past all this. You go down here. Now let's say I want to send a message to everyone I know who's an attorney. So I'd go down here and click job title, and I would put in either attorney or lawyer or whatever I thought was the best keyword. You may have to do this several times because people do use different words to describe the same job. So we'll put that in. Okay. So then I say, all right, I want to send to these people. I start clicking here. Let's assume I've clicked on 50 people. Now my choices are to create a tag for these people, so I don't have to, so it saves the search and I don't have to do it again. In fact, like this person is under a tag for Philadelphia and other people have some tags. Or if I don't want to create a tag and I don't think I'll run this search again, simply click on message. And the system automatically populates the to field of the email for you. You enter your subject, whatever it might be. You type in your message. There's no mail merge here, so you can't, the message won't go through with individual names on it. So it's pretty much a mass message. So say something nice at the beginning. And then be sure to uncheck this box. Otherwise, everyone you send to will be able to see everybody else's names and emails, and you don't want to be the one to reveal that. So just uncheck this, and then send your message. And you can check in your sent folder, which is part of your inbox tool, to see that it went through to the people that you wanted it to go through to. That's how you send one message to 50 people.
That's great. I guess it's with like 15,000 or however many connections you have. That's pretty much like going to be a full-time job, right?
It is a full-time job.
I'm not sure one of the things you're going to cover is you know, how to kind of automate it, how to put things a little bit kind of on autopilot.
Yes, and that's kind of one of the tools for doing that. It's not great for every instance, but it can be a big help when you have sort of news to share that is okay to share with the masses. You can do that, again, 50 at a time. You can do it about 4 times or up to about 200 people before the system will flash a warning message on the screen and tell you you're overdoing it. And you'll have to wait several hours or maybe even to the next day to start over again. Because let's face it, there are spammers and scammers out there, and they're trying to message everybody on the planet. And so it's just one of LinkedIn's built-in security features to keep that from happening. Okay. All right. So here's where we're talking about the sort of setting your LinkedIn presence on autopilot. So one of the things we just did, we talked about how you could save those searches. There's another way to save searches and get kind of warm leads coming to you automatically. So I'll show you how to do that. You can also leave the People Also Viewed feature turned on. This may be something you've seen on your profile. Maybe you have it turned off and you haven't seen it, but we'll talk about that and why it's important. The Relationship tab, we saw that with the little star that we looked at earlier, but I'm going to show you how this can be an alternative CRM or customer relationship management tool, which is great for people who have small businesses and don't want to invest in expensive or enterprise-level CRMs like Salesforce or something like that. And also we'll talk about creating a library of follow-up messages. So let's go back into LinkedIn and we'll talk about some of those things. So using saved searches and receiving automatic leads. So up here, you may have used this or you may not have ever noticed this little advanced tab. Let me backtrack for just a moment. When you're searching on LinkedIn, this is the main search bar. But there's a little drop-down arrow here where you can tell LinkedIn to kind of hone in on exactly what you're searching for. So if I wanted to find companies instead of people, I would click on that. You can not click on this drop-down button and still run a search, but this helps to modify what you're doing so you get better results. But even more so than that is this advanced tool. So if we click on that, we will see this come up. Now, we all have different kinds of subscriptions, so this page may look a little bit differently to you if you have a free account or various types of paid accounts, but essentially you're going to get this same page. So let's say over here in keywords, we'll type in attorney, lawyer. Let's just do those. Let's do legal. So we've got a couple of keywords sort of covering who we might be looking for. And in terms of location, I'm saying located in or near, and we'll put in, putting in a zip code in Philadelphia. And then 50 miles is too much, so I'm going to say 25 miles. And then we're going to view our results. Any minute now. There we go. So, of course, you may have many more connections to attorneys than I do. I have 1,361 across my network of First Connections. So now I can go in and do things with these filters that will give me a much more targeted returns. Probably not going to use first name or last name because let's pretend I'm trying to build a mailing list. I may use title, possibly company. I've already set the search location that I want. And then if you do have a premium account, you get into some pretty interesting filters down here. Here's all the levels of connections. You can even search your group members, more locations that could be added, specific companies or firms that can be added. And then you have these filters, industry, where they worked in the past, how many years of experience, what their function or seniority level is, the size of the company, are they Fortune 100, 500, or what have you. When they joined LinkedIn, that's a cool little feature. So one of the nice things about a premium membership, not that I'm pushing those because I don't work for LinkedIn, but it is nice to get these extra little features that they provide to premium members so that you can do these deeper searches. So you can kind of, people get stuck on their profile, but we want to get you off the profile and get you moving towards some of these actual marketing techniques that are used on LinkedIn to reach out to groups of people so you can find leads. So that's one of the ways that we do that. So once you have your search, you see the little Save Search button here? So I can save this search, and I can tell it whether I want results weekly or monthly. We'll leave it on weekly. And when I click on this green check mark, I can save up to 5 because of my type of subscription. People with basic accounts can save up to 3. And so Once I've saved this, then LinkedIn will email me weekly or monthly with notifications about new people who meet my search criteria. So that means I'm going to exponentially increase my opportunity to connect with new valuable people as they're entering my network through other people that I know. So this is how you do that. So you get this email, whatever you've chosen here, and it will say people's names, and it will tell you these people are now part of your network, or they're now your second connection. And mining those second connections can be very valuable in growing your first connection network and really opening doors to those people that you want to meet. So that's one of the cool ways that we do that. Anybody have questions? I know that I'm going a little bit quickly, and that's there's a couple of steps there. Okay. All right. Now, we also want to talk about the People Also Viewed feature. So when you're here in your profile, you'll see hopefully, there we go, People Also Viewed. So this says that when people came to my profile to look at me, they also looked at some of these other people. It doesn't mean they did it today. It just means that they did it at some point in the near past. So I can look at this list, and I can see some of these people are connections of mine, some are colleagues, some of them are actual competitors. Now, I normally would keep this feature turned off through my account page because I don't want to tell people I don't want to make it so easy for them to see my competitors and click off of my profile and go to someone else's. But in many cases, it may be worth it to you to leave this feature on because it can also increase your visibility and increase the likelihood that your profile will be discovered and viewed by other members. So this is something you want to make your own personal decision about whether you should leave this tool on or off. And again, just to repeat some things we talked about in part one, if you want to get to your account page, go right up here to your little picture, and you go here to this Manage. We're going to be going in there in a minute for some other things, but that's where you go to get to your account page and make some of these changes that we're talking about. Now, we had talked about the little star that's right underneath when you go to look at people who are not your first connections. You can really keep notes on the activity that you have with contacts. Your first connections included. So let's say I go to, let's go to Matt's profile for a second. Oh, no, I don't want to do that because there are notes in there. I want to reveal those. All right, let's go back to this guy. He'll be our guinea pig for the day. So I've already saved him as a relationship, and he's got whatever contact info he chose to share. So I can go here, and once I've had a phone call, let's say I've talked to this person on the phone, and we're going to, I don't know, he's in the UK, but let's say we're going to get together for lunch. I can write a note to myself. You see, when I saved it as a contact a few minutes ago, it saved that as a note. I can write a note to myself to remind myself something I want to do. I can set an actual reminder. I can tell myself how we met so I won't forget maybe what we talked about. Or I can add this person to tags I've already created as I showed you on the Keep in Touch feature. So pretend this guy was in Philadelphia and I wanted to add him. I would just add him to my Philadelphia tags as a new contact. So this is a little customer relationship management tool that can be very cool when you are having a lot of conversations with people on LinkedIn and you want to remember what those things were about without logging into a whole other piece of software to do it. Well, it's pretty awesome. So the other thing we want to talk about is exporting your connections. A lot of people know how to do this, but some people still don't know that it exists. So let's talk about that. Again, you go here to this little Connections tab, and you let it load, and all the congratulatory things will come up at the top. You want to go to this little gear icon, which always stands for Settings. You click on that, and here's the little button, Export Your LinkedIn Connections. When you click on this, it will give you some choices of how to do it. Generally speaking, you'll do it to an Excel. You'll download to an Excel spreadsheet, and it'll just pop up at the bottom of your tray down there. And whatever information your first connections have added to their profile, you'll see in this spreadsheet. So if they haven't put their phone number on their profile, obviously it won't be on the spreadsheet. But whatever they've added, contact information and so forth, you'll have that. Why would you want to export your LinkedIn connections? Well, same reason I've said on other things. If for some reason you are not able to get into LinkedIn, you don't want to be at the mercy of this platform. You want to have all those people that you've worked hard to make those connections with. You want to have access to those. So if you're very active on LinkedIn, you may want to export those connections pretty regularly. And if not, maybe just every few months or so as your connections are growing. All right. I feel I am missing something, so let's go back and look at that slide. Creating a library of follow-up messages. This might sound like a lot of extra work, but it really saves work down the road. And that is that if you're going to be very active on LinkedIn, you're going to want to save the messages that you send to people very frequently. So if you're using the system correctly and you're personalizing the messages you send to people when you invite them to connect with you, or even the responses you send to people when they invite you to connect with them, then you want to save those in a Word document or in a system like Evernote or something, where you can access it easily while you're working on LinkedIn. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over. You don't have to think about it over and over. What do I want to say? Because the beauty of those message spaces is that it's an opportunity to very briefly pitch your services. So you don't want to write a novel and go on and annoy the person, but you have a space there. You've opened the conversation with that person. You have that space to say something about your services, what you offer, how you can help, or even just make an offer to help them if they need it. Because, social media is all about reciprocity. When you do something nice for someone, they feel kind of obligated to do something nice back. That's pretty much what social media is, the philosophy it's built on. So you want to take advantage of that message space to create these little mini sales messages, if you want to call them that, and use them as you're communicating back and forth with people so you're not missing opportunities to open the door even further to potential lead, new business, or the door to a new opportunity. Okay, we'll talk about a few more tools that we have at our disposal here on LinkedIn. We talked about exporting your connections to a spreadsheet. A couple other fun things you can do. You can now request an archive of all of your LinkedIn data. This is for something brand new that they've started. I've done it myself. It's truly interesting. It comes to you in a spreadsheet, and you can see all of your LinkedIn activity. I'm not exactly sure how far back it goes, but it goes back far. Who you connected with, comments that you made, things that you posted, just all of your activity on LinkedIn. It's really, really amazing. So let me show you where that is. I've lost my key again, so let me go this way. There. So when you go up to your account page, you go here to Manage. It'll ask you to log in again, and you'll see these 4 tabs on the side. You want to click on the Account tab, and you'll see it right here, Request an Archive of Your Data. When you click on that link, you'll see this page. It tells you that it will take about 72 hours to get the data to you, but mine came in about 30 hours, so it might not always take 72 hours. And you simply click here, and they'll give you a little message that says they're working on it. And before you know it, you get an email that says your data is ready. And you open up the Excel spreadsheet and see what you've done. And if you're very active on LinkedIn, it's very interesting to look back at everything you've done.
Does this show messages that you've sent as well?
I don't
Or
think
is
it
this just posts?
shows messages like that you send through your inbox area, but it does show public things you've done, like liking someone's post, commenting on someone's post, or posts that you've put up, things like that.
Because what's interesting, obviously, we're talking to an audience of attorneys here, and the one thing that I wonder if anybody on this call is a litigator and is starting to think about, oh, I can start including these in discovery requests. Obviously, the purpose the purpose of this is obviously from a business development perspective, but it's interesting to know as more and more of our life goes online. It's possible that requesting archives of one's digital activities on LinkedIn could well form part of a discovery situation in a lawsuit. But that's probably slightly tangential for the purposes of this discussion.
That's a very interesting point of view, though. I hadn't thought of that. Some of the other things it will show you is IP records. It'll show all your searches, your most recent logins. It's really, really interesting. And the other thing about it is that it allows you to export and back up all of your LinkedIn data. So that's a good thing to have in terms of your own controlling your own security when you're working on the platform. The exporting of your connections and the requesting of this data archive are two kind of mild security features that can help you to have more control over your online presence in a way that goes beyond things like, have you posted any status updates or, connected with anyone. It's a little bit deeper than that. So along those lines, a couple other things I want to show you is that when you're on your profile, if you hover right over this little drop-down arrow here, you can save your profile to a PDF. So when you do that, you get this nice PDF document. All the images are removed, and it's just the content that's on your profile. So if you think that from time to time you might be changing your profile content, or you just want to keep a copy of what you've posted, that's a great little thing to keep in your in a desktop file as well, is the PDF of the profile. And I think I was going to show you how to implement two-step verification. They've recently changed that, so I don't want to show you something that isn't completely accurate at the moment. But I will say that LinkedIn has offers the opportunity to have this two-step verification, another security feature which prevents your account from getting hacked. And it is something you can do through your account page. If it's something that you're really interested in, I'm sure you can Google it, or you can contact me, and I'll be happy to show you what it is once I find out what the new way is to do that. So, LinkedIn, they're always moving and changing. That's true. One of the other issues one of the other items I wanted to show you real quick before we move on is how to log out of all your past sessions. This has been very eye-opening for some people, because you may not realize that as you move from place to place and work on your laptop, you're logging in from different places. So if you go to Starbucks, you're using their Wi-Fi. If you go someplace else, somebody else's office or what have you, you may be using someone else's internet connection. You may not, even though you're closing out your LinkedIn profile, you might not actually be closing out of that internet browsing session. So once again, I meant to show you this while we were in here. You'll be on your account page, and you'll see right here your active sessions. See where you're logged in. I've done this exercise with people, and they've discovered they're logged in 8 or 10 different places. Obviously, that's a hacking issue, and you want to close those sessions out. So you can see here, last accessed, well, this is my location, so obviously I didn't sign out of something, and I want to do that because this is the only session I want to be signed into now. So check that when you have a moment. Go to your account page and check that little button. I'll show you again where it is. So right here, see where you logged in on your main account page, and log out of any place that you may be logged into. Okay, and now we can move forward. So One of the things I want to make sure you guys understand is that there are various places on LinkedIn, especially through that Keep in Touch page, where it will ask you if you'd like to sync your regular email with your LinkedIn profile. Might sound like a great idea, but there's a class action suit in progress against LinkedIn right now because what LinkedIn's practice was that they were asking people if they wanted to sync. They weren't fully explaining what the person was literally agreeing to. And once they got access to the person's regular email, they would send not only one message to everybody stored in their email database. Even if you, I don't know, returned a gift to a department store and needed to send them an email about it. So anybody stored in your email server, they would send a message to on your behalf, inviting those people to join your network on LinkedIn. And then, if the person didn't respond, they would send not one, but 2 follow-up messages. And this just sent some people wild. And so this class action suit came into play. And LinkedIn is citing certain reasons why they feel that the person has agreed to give them permission to allow this to happen, but they haven't properly explained what the person's agreeing to, and this is what the contention is in the suit. So until that's settled, my philosophy is say no to sync. Don't sync anything. Don't connect from any place except the person's profile where that blue button says connect. Because not only does it prevent this kind of duplication through your email and any kind of permissions that don't realize that you're giving, but it also avoids the standard greeting going out. So when you click that connect button any place else on the LinkedIn system, it's going to send the standardized message, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. You don't have the opportunity to customize that on your own or personalize it. So always, always connect with people directly through their profiles, and you'll obliterate both of those problems. And you'll grow a stronger network because you're taking the time to actually personalize invitations to people or other kinds of things that you have to say. The publishing platform we've talked about, you want to use that consistently to build readership. I wanted to make the point, too, and this is going to sound like a pitch, and it really isn't. I just want to say that if you don't have a blog, or if you have a blog that's kind of not moving as quickly as it should, you kind of started it and then let it go by the wayside. There are many very talented writers out there who'd be happy to help you get that blog going again and keep it fresh all the time. And I happen to be one of them. So that's why I said it's going to sound like a pitch, and I don't mean it that way. But, you know, blog, sometimes it feels like you're writing it and nobody's listening, but people are reading it. And now that you have the opportunity to share it on LinkedIn through the publishing platform and gain not only greater influence and greater visibility, but followers and more connections, really can't be avoided. Something you just have to add that into your marketing mix and do it. So if you should need help with that, I would be happy to help you. In terms of growing your network, one person can have up to 30,000 first-level connections. So for most of us, it's a long way to go. And it's going to be a long time before you actually get there. So always, always be working on growing your network. Not that you have to get up to 30,000, but you can. So if you have the opportunity, why not go for it? Be looking at people, as I said earlier, not just your first-level connections, but those second-level connections can really be a gold mine. Posting regular status updates on the homepage. People often say, I don't know what to post. I don't know what goes there. You know, I'm afraid I'm going to say too much. I'm going to look stupid, or I may expose information I didn't mean to. All that spot really is for is to share information with your network that they would want to know about. Industry news, news about your firm, news about you, something good that's happened to you personally, things that are happening in the world that would be interesting to people who are connected to you. That's all that's really for. Of course, they tell you you should post daily. If you can, great. If you can't, post a couple times a week. But it's very important for visibility and exposure to people buy based on like, know, and trust. If they like you and they feel like they know you, then they tend to trust you, and they'll want to do business with you more readily. So if they never see your face and they never see you on LinkedIn, it just sounds harsh, but you're almost a non-entity in LinkedIn standards. So if you post status updates on your homepage, people start to see you. They start to feel like they know you, and that trust, at least as much as it can online, that trust starts to build. And the same thing with groups and group participation. And also through your homepage and in other ways you want to support the efforts of other people too. Because it's not just about ourselves, it's about what other people are doing and what they have to share, and we want to support that. And we want to use some off-LinkedIn tools to make our LinkedIn experience better, easier, faster, or whatever your goals might be. And I do have another webinar coming up that's going to talk about a lot of these off-LinkedIn tools, and I'd be very happy to share that information with you when the time comes. It'll be sometime in January. But there are, as you know, a ton of tools out there. Some of them are good, some of them not so good. And the tools you choose depend on the kind of business you have, too. Great big businesses are going to choose different tools than small businesses. So how do you really find those tools that are going to make a big difference, or apps? They could be apps as well. They'll make a big difference in the work you do every day that actually don't make your work harder or add more places for you to log in, but make your experience better. And that's what the focus of that is. Tracking and measuring your efforts. This is a part that always makes people kind of shudder a little bit. They're like, oh, tracking, measuring, analytics. Really doesn't have to be that hard, especially with some of the tools that LinkedIn has already given us to do that. Who has viewed your profile? You'll need a premium account to do what I'm about to show you. You won't get these features with a basic account. But what you can get with it is really cool. So you're going to go up here to Profile. You may have looked at this before, who's viewed your profile. And you'll see two columns here, this one here, and how you rank for profile views. Now, how you rank may not matter to you. In a situation like myself where I'm a marketer, obviously I want to rank high. I want to get a lot of exposure. In some industries, that's not so important, so this may not be a big deal for you. But who's viewed your profile is important because you want to see the numbers going up. So you can see how many profiles views you had in the last 90 days, how many people found you specifically from LinkedIn search. Then it sort of parses out into other job titles and companies who may have been looking at you. You can click on these to go down even deeper. You can get more analytics here, 226 from the mobile app and so forth. Lots of information in here to help you see whether all these things we've been talking about for 2 long sessions, whether they're working and you're actually getting somewhere with these efforts. So do look at who's viewed your profile, check how you rank, see if we're going up or down. Both are important. And when you come here, definitely want to look at the people who are looking at you. And if it says connect, it means you're a second or a third connection to them. You want to assess that person and decide, is this someone I want to connect with? So I look at Madeline and I say, oh, she's a freelance copywriter. Yeah, it's my kind of person. Okay, I'd like to connect with her. But I'm not going to click this connect button because you know what's going to happen. It's going to send that standard message. I'm going to go to her profile, and I'm going to click connect here because that's the only way I'm going to get this box that's going to allow me to choose how I know her and add a personal message in there. Well, that didn't work quite right. Let me do that again. There. So you just wipe that out and type in what you want to type. There used to be a button here to allow you to select groups if you knew someone through groups. They took it out for some unknown reason. So now you have to choose one of these top 4. If you choose other or I don't know this person, you'll be asked for their email address. And if you don't have it, it's not listed on their profile, you won't be able to connect. So you can choose friend and put in a personal note. We talked about followers. the difference between connections and followers. So LinkedIn uses a lot of terms that can be confusing. You have your first, second, and third level of connections. Then you have followers who are not necessarily your connections, but they're following information that you're posting. Then if you have a company page, you have followers on that company page, and that's a core of followers that needs to be built. And they have nothing to do with people who follow you personally. So there's lots of kinds of tribes, for lack of a better word, that you can create to follow you on LinkedIn, and they are all amazing opportunities depending on what your goals are to grow your influence and your visibility. And finally, when you're posting status updates, the other analytic I want you to be aware of is how are your status updates doing? So when you go down here, you'll see this right here. So you can go through each of your status updates using this right side little arrow. You'll see what you posted, and it'll show you a little pop-up, and you see how many views and likes and comments. And you can go through this right here. This represents your first level connections. This is your second, and then this would be your third. Let me go show you what the third looks like. I'll see if I can get a better one. Somewhere in here. There. Okay. So, and you see a little legend up here. So purple represents views, green represents likes, and red is comments. So I can see that what I posted here, which was just a funny little picture, and you know how much people like those, it went all the way through my three networks. So these are people who responded from the first and then the second, and even people in the third thought it was cute or commented or liked it or whatever. So you can do that on each of your posts and see how you're doing. And if you want to see everything over a certain time period, you have to be at number 1 with these little numbers here, and then if you click on this, it'll give you an aggregate view. Let's see if we can do that there. So 7 updates since December 3rd, and you can see what you did and how well you did. So if you're going to post status updates here, you want to be checking to make sure that you're getting some good feedback from that. Okay, so then the big question becomes, where do you invest your time and your money? Of all the tools that we talked about in our first session, hopefully you were with us for that, or you can listen to the recording, and in this session, what are the best places for you to go to really get the most effort, put in the most effort and get the most results? We have the profile, we talked about optimizing it. What about some of all these other tools that we talked about? I'd love to get some feedback from you guys on which tools you think are really valuable. And Matt, I think you're about to say something as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. What we find, because we, as you know, we work with a number of law firms to help them increase their visibility. And what we find is most kind of exciting for the partners that kind of specify our services is the groups, which we didn't really talk about in this session, but we talked about in part 1. You know, giving partners the ability to place their practice areas at the heart of the digital conversation. So if they want to be positioned as an expert in, you know, bankruptcy law, let's say, for example, you know, creating a group, bringing together other professionals, and having that partner and that practice area at the hub and the center of that conversation is something that really kind of checks a lot of boxes. So that's something where you know, in terms of kind of giving you that feedback, that would be somewhere where I know that there's a natural inclination for law firms, law firm marketers, and law firm partners that have a business development, you know, or business development oriented, are spending quite a lot of their time and investment, certainly with us at Momentum.
Definitely. So my mother used to tell me to put my money where my mouth is. I was kind of a big mouth when I was a kid. And maybe some of you had the same experience. And, you know, it turns out I was born with a marketing mouth, and so that's where I've chosen to put my money. But I don't try to repair my own car when it falls apart, or, I don't know, operate on myself. So you might be wondering, is it a good idea to hire a marketing professional to help you use LinkedIn, or get some of this great content written that you can share with your audience? Of course, from my point of view, the answer is yes, because I think your time and your expertise is far better spent on things you're well-trained to do, and not on things that you have to spend a whole lot of time figuring out how to do. So I want to invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll find some information here on the page. You'll find my phone number and my email on my profile. And like many on this call already have, I'd love to talk with you about how I can help you get this stuff done easier, faster, and better. Any other questions anyone wants to ask? Or Matt, any final comments you'd like to make?
Well, we are almost over time, so we don't have any time for questions. I know that plenty of people do have questions. You know, I know that you've obviously helped us quite significantly with with optimizing our LinkedIn profile, which we're really grateful for. So I really want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for a really phenomenal insight into kind of like the deep, darkest secrets of LinkedIn. As you say, the platform changes frequently, and it's great to have somebody that like you that is always up on the latest developments, the latest tools, and what they've changed, what they've added. So I really appreciate that. I think that's great. Anybody on the call that feels that they could be doing more on LinkedIn to contact Victoria. With that said, I want to give you the opportunity to say goodbye to the people on the call.
Yes, I just want to thank everybody for being here with us today, and I want to wish everyone happy holidays. I hope you all have a wonderful time, and perhaps in the new year we can get back together and learn more. We'll do this again.
That sounds great. And happy holidays to everybody. And as I mentioned, I will be sending around an email with the details of the slides, as well as how to access the recordings from both part 1 and part 2 of this presentation.
Right.
With that, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and probably speak to you all in the new year. Take care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks everybody. Bye-bye.